but oh, I'm gonna pop up. Google does have a healthcare division. They have both hardware and software healthcare offerings. I'm within our Fitbit department. So Fitbit is a hardware software product that is used as a tool within the business space. So my particular role is I work with organizations who are utilizing Fitbit hardware software products for different use cases. So my particular verticals are research, so universities who are using Fitbit products to track patients for research. I also work within our hospital verticals, so hospitals who are using Fitbit products as a tool, an intervention tool to support either remote patient monitoring or behavior change. And then finally, I also work in our employer channel, so employer groups who are using Fitbit products to incentivize their employees to stay healthier or trying to improve their behavior to reduce healthcare claims typically. And I've been in this role for almost 5 years. So happy to be here today. Thanks, Caitlin.
Great, thank you. And Braxton?
Hi, everybody. So right now I'm actually in two roles. I'm currently working as a registered behavioral technician with Elite Behavioral in Providence, and then I'm also a supervisor at a suicide and crisis intervention center. And we get calls all over the state, and we are open 24/7, as you would probably hope that we would be. And yeah, we do that. And then with the RBT role, I work in ABA with children on the spectrum. The oldest that I've worked with is 9, and we do a lot of rewarding work with a lot of the children in the area.
Great, thank you so much for those introductions. So the first question for the panelists, and this is going out to all panelists, if you could just take a few minutes to tell us about your journey since graduating from URI. So whether that's entering the workforce, pursuing graduate school, or both, what steps led you to where you are today? I don't know if we want to go in the same order or if anybody wants to chime in.
We can go in the
I can
same
go.
order.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
great.
that's fine.
That's okay. You can totally go.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on it just because I'm not sure about anybody else, but um I had a very general major. Health studies was a little hard when I first graduated because I wasn't sure which field I could go into. As like I see it kind of the major is like a prerequisite to a lot of different medical, potentially behavioral and clinically administrative roles. So it was really hard for me to figure out how to get into the field. When I started, I began as a behavioral health technician in Central Florida after I graduated URI. And then I decided to work in clinical administration to get somewhat of a clinical footing, just because, experience, as you guys may know, if you've been applying to any jobs, is really big. So, what I tried to do was just make sure that I had a very uniquely tying professional background so that I could get into roles similar as the one I'm in now, because I actually applied to be a crisis counselor and I didn't get the job due to my lack of experience. And so I decided to look at my lack and decide to build off of that. And so I aligned myself with positions that I felt catered towards my need in the field. And slowly but surely, I was able to get lead experience and I became a registered behavioral technician, was able to kind of apply documentation and ethics that I had learned within not only undergraduate year, but throughout my career. And then I just honestly continued to hone my skills until I was able to get to a certain experience point that I was able to get the job that was necessary and aligned with my graduate degree, because I'm going to school for marriage and family therapy. So I just decided to try to make everything so that they all intertwine together. And so that's how I got to where I was today.
Great, thank you.
I can go
Rachel?
next. Oh, so
Ariana, sure, go ahead.
we could do reverse order. We can just keep going like back and forth. So we'll start this way and then Rachel, you start again, maybe.
Perfect.
But yeah, so I noticed when I looked at the panelists, I am the oldest graduate, which is crazy to think about. Time really does fly. So I graduated in 2014. So I just want to say I know things have changed quite a bit since I graduated. There's been a huge evolution, but I do think my path is relevant and hopefully can learn something from it. But ultimately, first thing, I changed my major 3 times at URI. I started as a bio major, and then as a nursing major, and then I became a public health major or health studies major. And each one of those changes was intentional because there was something within the degree that I was pursuing that I wasn't necessarily aligned to. So I always joke that my path to where I am today is actually more about what I didn't like than what I did like. I would be in a class or take a role and I wouldn't love it, and I would pivot from there and find the things I did like and hone in on that. So ultimately, I my junior year switched over to a public health studies degree, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so late in the game to be changing your major. What are you doing?" And so I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I'm not happy." And so I switched, and I ultimately decided to take an internship. I think it was first semester senior year to make sure it was what I really wanted to do. So I had an internship at South County Health. It was in their hospital administration because I had realized through my other degree programs that I really did like the healthcare setting. I just didn't want to actually be interacting like hands-on with patients. That's what I learned from my nursing degree, that I didn't necessarily want to be like in that interactive setting, hands-on. But I thought, oh, hospital administration makes sense. Well, I actually didn't like that either. My internship, I was like, gosh, I'm in an office in a cubicle all day long alone. I didn't love that. And so then I took another internship, my second semester, with a startup company that had a fitness application. They're now defunct, but I connected, actually, the university connected me with the opportunity, and I took an internship there, and I loved it. It was an organization that worked with businesses in the employer wellness space, so incentivizing employees to take action on their health. And I loved it, and I fell in love with it. And from there, it really took off. 2 years, I worked for that company actually post graduation. So I always said they actually hired me right after graduation, part-time first, and I babysat to make up the difference, and then full-time 6 months later. So I didn't graduate with a full-time job. It was part-time, but I decided to take that opportunity. And then it did convert into a full-time opportunity eventually. So I would just say anyone out there who's junior, senior, look for internships. Even if you don't think you're going to love it, it's a great way to connect with folks. It's a great way to try something out. It's a great way to see, yeah, sure, maybe the job title or the day-to-day work isn't what you love, but check out the experience of the office. Check out how you feel working with their workspace. Like, what do they use for technology? You know, that interaction alone is helpful to learn. So I would encourage everyone to look for internships. And then ultimately, my first job led to my second job, led to my third job. And I think it kind of does take off, right? You start growing your network in your career field. You start getting inbound opportunities for roles. People start reaching out to you once you start building your network. And that takes time, right? It doesn't happen overnight. So I would just say never say no. I would say always say yes if you can. So yeah, so I graduated from URI, had the internship, took a role for 18 months, ultimately then ended up at United Healthcare in a healthcare consulting role. I was in that role for almost 5 years. In that role, I did love that role, but I realized in that role, when I was at United Healthcare, I worked with employer groups on their analyzed claims data to understand trends in their population healthcare trends and where we could provide interventions to save costs and improve health of the employees. I realized then that I actually wanted to be on the other side of the table. I wanted to manage the employee wellness programs. So I went to PepsiCo for a year to manage their global wellness program. I realized there that I didn't like working late at night. PepsiCo is a global organization. I was on calls at 4 a.m. with China and like 6 a.m. with India and like 9 p.m. with someone else. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't want to work 24/7, full transparency. So I did that role for a year and I realized, okay, global health is very cool, but I want to stay US centric and US focused. And that led me over to Fitbit and Google. So ultimately, in that journey, I also did go back for my MPH. I went back in 2016. I went to school at night. So I was working full time, and United Healthcare actually paid for my master's. So I also always like to say that. It took me 4 years to finish my MPH because I can only take 2 classes at a time, working full time and going to school at night. But I would also just encourage you all, if you are thinking about getting that advanced degree, there are companies that will pay for it. And I think my working skill set and what I've learned at work is just as valuable as my degrees. Personally, I don't think a degree's ever gotten me the job. It doesn't hurt, right? And it's helped and it forms my thoughts and how I think about what I do. So there's certainly, it's advantageous there. But I think if you're debating like, hey, do I go back to school right away or do I get a job right away? I think there's pros and cons to each situation. I think you can do both at the same time too. So it's a little bit about my journey. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Since we're going in reverse order now, I think I'm up next. So my story is very similar to Ariana, and I think Ariana dropped a lot of diamonds in her conversation right now. I graduated in 2019. Shout out to the track and field team, by the way. But my journey started in 2018. I had the opportunity to have a internship from a family friend in hospital administration at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. And that internship was pivotal with me understanding what direction I wanted to go in my career. Similar to Ariana, I was kind of in the crossroads of going pre-health or maybe another direction with my career. After the internship, met a lot of wonderful people, made a lot of great connections, and had the full understanding that this is where I need to go. I can be very successful here, and I'm good at it. After I finished my summer internship, moving to the winter of 2019 before I graduated, I had the opportunity to have a full job offer before I graduated. Started work right away in the summer of 2019, I think June to be exact. I started off as a OR scheduler. So I was primarily in charge for scheduling surgeries for plastic and reconstructive patients, and mostly in the breast cancer space. I was in that role for almost a year and two. Similar to what Ariana stated, my former organization had the ability to pay for my master's degree, so use that opportunity to work full time to complete my master's in healthcare administration as well as my master's in business administration. Um, I would say that it's not really a essential need right away. I feel like I utilize my degree more in the position that I am now than when I was. But if your organization gives you the opportunity to pay for your master's degree in full, you definitely should take advantage of that opportunity. And really was in my OR scheduler role for 2 years, to be honest. Was feeling a little demotivated at some points, was, trying to get the next position, trying to become a supervisor, what we call a team lead at the time, you know, failed 3 interviews. And sometimes I tell everyone when I speak in settings like this that like my failures taught me more than some of my successes. So during my fourth opportunity to become a supervisor, nailed that interview, became what we call a team lead. And from there, building my network and to the role as a supervisor is really what took my career off in a very fast manner. In my span of 5 years working at Memorial Sloan Kettering, moved from the supervisor position to the assistant manager position, all the way to the regional manager position of operations within a 5 year span, due to not just my work ethic, but my work ethic being known by multiple people. I think when you think of career success or career mobility or career promotion, sometimes you would be the best worker, the hardest worker, but if that's not identified by anyone and recognized by a lot of people, due to you maybe meeting in settings outside of work, it doesn't take you as far as you may think. From there, had the opportunity to receive an offer to oversee New York Presbyterian's pharmacy program, which is just another form of operations. I'm mostly in the hospital operations space. I've been in this current role now for almost a year and 4 months. So that's pretty much my career journey. A little short, not as elaborate, but I've been in the healthcare space for 6 to 7 years now upon my graduation in 2019.
Great, thank you. Rachel.
All right. So I think I actually had this conversation yesterday during our public health week. We were at Quinn Hall doing a little public health get together, and I talked to a student about my journey. And very similar to what Ariana had mentioned about, it's kind of like what you don't like that leads you to where to your journey and your path. And so I started off long before you or I with just knowing I never wanted to wake up to an alarm in the morning. So I was like, I don't want to work a typical 9 to 5. So I got a degree in massage therapy, which was very science heavy. Fortunately, URI was able to take half of those credits in, and I graduated from URI in 2016. No, I'm sorry, 2015, with the bachelor's in science and health promotion. And from there, I jumped into, I had an internship with Stay Fit Plant my senior year. Jumped from there directly into Electric Boat Quantum Point, working for United Healthcare, Optum, more the behavioral and wellness side. And I was stationed at Quantum Point for 2 years as an on-site health promotion specialist. I learned a lot about population health through that journey, but I also, again, learned a little bit about more what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to make changes versus being the person who just kind of runs around and put band-aids on everything. From there, I became a community health worker with South County Health. Working to kind of put band-aids on everything. On the tail end of, what happens when we're not getting ahead of things. So health promotion, we should be promoting health and working as preventative services versus on the other opposite end where we're just scrambling to put things back together. And I learned that I wanted to, especially through that experience, be able to impact more on population health at the higher level. From there, the pandemic happens. I ended up homeschooling my 3 children during the pandemic, as most people did. But I thought to myself, well, you know what? I might as well go back and get my master's degree. While everyone else is homeschooling, I'll homeschool. So I went and got my graduate degree. I did an accelerated program through University of Florida. It is a master's in science in health education and human behavior, which was an absolutely wonderful degree. Became a master's certified health education specialist along with that, and jumped into URI shortly after. And my role as a specialist health and wellness is really working with this population, which it is its own little city here at URI. We have our health services, our own little hospital, we have counseling services, we have so much going on here. And our job is actually to work pretty intimately with health services itself. When they see things coming down the pipeline, they see, oh, we're getting incidents of, this is on the rise for student population, for health concerns or public health, population health, mental health. Right now, mental health is one of the biggest concerns. So my job is to do a lot of research. And it's a very research heavy position where I'm constantly evaluating what is going on, what are we doing, what are other universities doing, what are the protocols, and then I put programming and design programming to meet the needs. And then I deploy that programming for the population. But really what started off my whole entire journey was just really knowing what I didn't want to do. And that's how I ended up here. And I love that along the way, I kind of said no to this, yes to that. And I think one of the things I can say, and this has kind of been the sentiment from a lot of the panelists, is knowing what you don't want to do and then knowing what you do want to do and staying as true to your compass of what motivates you and inspires you and what feels right to you. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the most fulfilling. So that has been my journey since URI.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. So this next question, I'm hoping that 2 of you could answer this next one. And I think a few of you have touched on it a little bit, but how did you determine this was the right career path for you? Were there internships, courses, mentors, or experiences that shaped your direction? Anyone want to jump on that one?
I think I'll go just because I didn't actually have like any internships or anything like that. So just to kind of shine a light on a different perspective of how it can go. Because I moved away very quickly, I had to essentially like put my adult pants on very quickly. So I didn't have like any downtime to start any internships. But I did start my master's program, I believe, 2 weeks after I graduated from URI, simply because I knew if I had some downtime, I wasn't sure if I'd go back to school. So I wanted to start as soon as possible. And even when choosing that path, I wasn't sure if that was the right path for me. And I chose to, explore life through my jobs and then have that exploration of what I'm choosing my path to be through my graduate degree. But as I weeded through different jobs, very similarly to the reoccurring theme here is that like I just was like, okay, I don't want this. I love this about health, but when I'm boiling it down, I care a little bit more about behavioral and mental health because I feel like that for me is like the foundation of, physical health. And I slowly but surely found out whether or not I wanted to do, hands-on or patient facing work, or if I wanted to be more clinical. And I think that actually being in those spaces to figure that out, whether it is an internship or it's just a job, is really important because I don't know about anybody else, but when I was looking for jobs or I was looking for a path, I was going on different social media platforms because I wanted to hear from the person themselves. But oftentimes, we're all different people and we all have different limits and thresholds for what we can take and what we are curious about and what we want to continue to learn. And if you feel like a job is something that, yes, it's good money, but you may get burnt out very quickly. And, you may not be able to maintain a work-life balance or prioritize what way you want to move up the totem pole and try to like advance and mature as a professional within the field because that was the farthest that you looked into that path. And so I think like the best thing for me was just genuinely exploring the field and trying my hardest to get into whatever places that I could. It was through networking on LinkedIn. Like I don't know. There was a class where we did LinkedIn application and just how to go about interviewing and internships. And that was with Kirsten. So I'm not sure if that is still a class at URI. But after that class, I learned how to effectively network and get myself out there as opposed to just following people and like low key stalking them to figure out where I could find some type of cross panel and be like, hey, I work in the field. Like I really began to be a lot more proactive, initiative, and I allowed myself to go through the motions. You are just starting in the field. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to regret your decision because you have your whole life to change it. You could decide to change your major at like, well, not major, but you can go back to school to get another degree when you're like 47, when you're 62, even. There's a lot of people, you guys probably see them in class. Like you can do whatever you want to do at any point in your life. So it's like, don't be scared or feel like you need to play it safe because like, I know money is a big aspect for people and that's a big driver. But the biggest thing that is important is that you can get up every day and want to excel in your position because that's what's going to naturally allow you to get those promotions, be able to, potentially be invited on a panel, do all these different things, these opportunities you can open yourself up to. Just explore the professional world and don't think you have to put yourself in a box because the world isn't about that. You're great in every way that you are. So you should try to put your hand in different cookie jars and see which cookie's your favorite and then say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to make that and I'm gonna stick to that. And maybe later I'm gonna change my mind and go to this. I just think the best way to figure out what you want to do is try everything. Like, and it might be overwhelming at one point, but it's like you get to look back. Like for me, as a health studies major, I did not think I was going to find a cool job. I was a compliance auditor for a health management company. I actually worked too for Optum under United Health Group as a clinical administrative coordinator. There was a lot of things I was able to do simply because I was able to get that experience. And I've only been, it's been like 5 years, right? I think, right? Yeah. 5 years now since I've been graduated, and all of those years are experience. So now, like, I'm a little bit more up. I'm a little more seasoned now. So I would just say, if you don't know what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. That's what life is about. You're young. We're young. Even if you're not, you're living. You have all the time in the world to figure it out. But make sure you apply yourself so you can figure it out, so you can explore, and that you're not setting yourself back. So that's what I would say was the biggest thing that helped me figure out where I wanted to be in my career, because it's like where I started, I had nothing to base anything off of. Now I do. So that's what I would say. I hope I didn't just ramble because I might have. But.
Thank you. Um, is there one more panelist that would like to share on this question?
I can share, Caitlin. I know I touched this a bit during my overview, but I had internships, right? So I graduated 2014. So I've been in the field and I've somewhat always been in this healthcare employer tools wellness type environment. So going on 13, 14 years, which actually is crazy. That time really does fly. So I've had internships. I went back for my master's. I've taken the courses. I've had a variety of mentors over the years. I've had some great bosses who I've been able to learn from. And very similar to Braxton, right? It's what I've really realized over time is when I take a risk, try a new job, even if it doesn't work out, it's not always a failure because I learned from that. So PepsiCo is a good example. Like I pretty much knew that it wasn't going to be great for me. The time zones weren't great. Like I realized very quickly, but I said, listen, give it a year. And I know a year feels really long, but like when once you're in the workspace and once you're like in working, I always say to folks, give it 1 year. You have to get through like the cycle, right? You have to get through the onboarding. You have to get through the I don't know what I'm doing now. I know what I'm doing now. I'm kind of perfecting what I'm doing, right? And so I do think one thing that I've seen across even like my peers is like job jumping is very common now. You don't have to stay at the same place. I think that's great, right? Like you shouldn't stay where you're unhappy, but I also think sometimes there's an itch and folks don't give it a chance. Or they're like they realize they're unhappy and they don't just give it a chance. And so I guess my advice and what I've done is I have a 1 year rule. My rule is give it a year. If after a year you're still unhappy, you realize it's not for you, that's okay. Pivot from there, move on. But give it that 1 year. It allows you to gain the experience, really know what you didn't like about the role so you can easily communicate that at your next interview. Because what I always do is when I take an interview for my next role and they ask me, what are you looking for? I can tell you right now, 13 years in, what I'm looking for, culture. I'm looking for a community. Like you spend more hours at work than you do with your family. So I better like my boss and I better like my team. You need to demonstrate that to me, right? So I need a culture that I am comfortable in. I like the folks, right? I want to talk to my peer, not just the person who my boss is. I always ask if I can have a peer-to-peer interview. So I think you should ask for that question if they give you the opportunity. Two is room for growth. And I don't just mean like the next job title. If you check out my LinkedIn, you'll notice I have stayed in jobs with no job title change for 4 or 5 years. Because for me, I'm not chasing a job title, I'm chasing an experience. In those 5 years of places I've been, I always ask for extra projects. When I have capacity and time in my day, what can I do to learn more? Can I be a team sponsor on a project? Can I try something new? Can I shadow someone else on a different team? You don't see that on my LinkedIn, and it's really hard to demonstrate that even on a resume. But I would also say use that time to also ask for more. Because again, I think, and Devon, I think you mentioned this a little bit too, right? Like you're in a role, you get bored, and you're like, now what? And you think, okay, I need to leave this job. I don't think that's always the answer either. I think there's something to be said of stability and being able to learn and grow in that role and take those opportunities. So again, part of my interview process is always, what growth opportunities do you have? Not just management to VP to that path, because that's very challenging and hard and takes decades. But what can I do what can you offer me on the side, right, to learn and grow? So I think I kind of went around the question a little bit, but that has definitely shaped my career, shaped where I've gone. Every move I've ever made has led to the next move. And yeah, I would just encourage you to, again, similar to what Rachel mentioned, Braxton, Devon, you mentioned too, what are your core value? What's your core value proposition? Who are you? What drives you every day? You're going to get up in the morning sometimes and be like, well, I really don't want to go to work. It doesn't matter if you love your job. Some days you're just like, oh gosh, like I would rather just like veg out on my couch all day or like hang out with my kids, right? I've got 2 small kids now. I'd rather be with them every day. Rachel, now you have children too, right? Eventually you get to this life stage. So you really have to figure out is what's my core value? And on the days I don't want to get up, where can I dig deep to make my day meaningful and feel like I'm making a difference? And for me, that's also always been, I've taken roles where the value proposition of the product or the team or the job aligns with my core values so it can drive me even on my tired days. So thanks, Caitlin.
Great. Thank you, Ariana. And that's a great segue into the next question, which Rachel and Devon, if you want to answer the next one, what does a typical workday look like in your role? And what do you find most rewarding or most challenging about your work?
I'll go first. My typical work day, and I think this is what I love about this position because I don't often like sitting still. I like being mobile. I like engaging. I like being able to interact with the student population. So in my role within health promotion, we're like right now we're doing a brain health awareness event right in front of the union. I'm hidden away somewhere in the union. And we have events going on all over the quad, on campus. We get to be outdoors. We get to be moving around. So my typical day, I usually ahead of time or a month ahead of time, we do planning for the entire semester. So start of the semester, we plan out on a calendar the entire semester with events, where we're going to be, what we're doing, what we're promoting. So we always have those core events lined up, but in between, we're kind of triaging what's going on. Like one of the things that popped up on the radar for us this semester is online gambling and the impact it's having on the student population and their mental health, obviously their financial health. So that was something where we kind of had to just quickly pivot, triage, figure out what we were going to do, how we were going to help the student population, put together programming for it, and then we intersperse that throughout the year, throughout the semester. So my typical workday is I have my known events, my known elements, and then I have the part of my day, which is maybe problem solving, maybe researching, putting together programming very quickly because there's an ask from upper management and health services. Um, so it's movement. It's a lot of thinking on your feet. It's a lot of engagement. It's public speaking. I basically do public speaking every day, having to talk with the public every day and engage with the student population every day. Fortunately, I really love that. Um, and there's a lot of flexibility. And I think that that's something where I have found myself most at ease is that I know I'm a person who likes to stay active. I know I'm a person who likes to stay mobile and engaged. And when I don't have that is when I start to feel myself falter a little bit. I get a little too tired, and I get a little run down. Like if I were to work in a cubicle, I know that wouldn't be right for me. So I feel extremely fortunate in that when I took this role, I kind of went into it with, an awareness of who I am as a professional, knowing what I didn't want and knowing what I do want. And so when this opportunity came along, a lot of people are like, don't you get tired running around campus and doing all this stuff and having to constantly move? I'm like, no, this is what I love. This is why I like my work day. So this works for me for my work day. And it's great. It fits perfectly. It's problem solving. It's crisis management. It's thinking on your feet. And I love that about it. So it's a mix of predetermined set events and goals and programming we do. And then the other aspect is kind of seeing where things are at with the student population and figuring it out. So that's my typical workday. It's always on the fly.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think operations is very easy or simple to say, but it's very complex and has multiple arms to describe. I want to first describe it as a level of a glorified firefighter and someone that's always making long-term decisions and strategies to impact things. Normally, I describe my job in the meme with the dog. It's on fire and everything. And the dog says everything is fine. Um, I oversee like three main buckets in operations, or maybe two main buckets if I had to describe it. It's performance management and financial management. Between those two buckets, you have some level of projects, initiatives, long-term strategy thinking in terms of just making decisions on a large scale, as well as just ensuring that the team under you is operating at the most efficient way possible. It Describing myself now, I have a team of five managers under me and almost a team of 100, which sounds strange now because you definitely have a level of imposter syndrome to some extent. But my days are kind of much similar to what Rachel said, is predetermined and undetermined. I have one-on-one meetings with my managers to understand their spaces. I oversee specifically in terms of operations all of oncology across New York Presbyterian, all of cardiology, a lot of our weight management spaces, which is a lot of our GLP-1s right now, by the way, as well as our neurology spaces as well. So I guess one process of that is just ensuring that provider satisfaction is the highest as ever can be, and that they're happy with the program that we're delivering from the provider, all the way to the patient. From a financial management standpoint, on ensuring that we're hitting budget, week by week, month by month. From a performance management standpoint, ensuring that the managers under me are performing at a great level, as well as the team members that indirectly report into them, which indirectly report into me. Um, Very simple to say. I assure you, it's very complex in terms of things that has to be done day by day, just because there's a lot of things that you can't control because you're overseeing such a large group of people. That's X amount of personalities, X amount of work that you need to ensure that's being done. With that being said, the most rewarding thing of my job, and I always say this, is, once you move into operations and some level of administration, I love seeing the impact of my coaching and development of individuals. That is always the most rewarding. I feel like when you move into this industry, you have the ability to touch the hearts and minds of people and get them from A to B. That entire process, similar to what Ariana said, could be months or a year, and I promise you the years fly by sometimes, and you're like, wow, it's 2026. I remember when COVID was hitting us. So just knowing that, hey, every single day I'm impacting people from start to finish in terms of them, hitting their goals, reaching their dreams. And a lot of coaching development, it's not just, professional coaching development. It's personal. It's work-life balance. It's sending someone home early because, I want to spend time with their family. I think it's enabling a culture that you want as a leader while still processing people to the next level. And I think that's like the most rewarding thing of my job.
Great. Thank you. And in the interest of time, I'm also going to, I think some of the follow-up questions here have been touched on already. And I do want to get to questions, but before we get to questions, um, I would like to ask all of the panelists, if you had one piece of advice, what do you wish you knew before graduating?
I could start off.
Great.
That's fine. Um, and I just came to this conclusion X amount of years later, but what I wish I knew before graduating is that I'm not going to know everything. That as much as I want to plan out my entire career, step by step, day by day, week by week, month by month, it's not going to go across the path that I already predetermined or would like it to go. Normally, my journey taught me everything I needed to know about what I wanted to do in life. And I know that's a similar theme that's being, repeated across the entire forum so far, but it's really, really true. So yeah, I would say what I wish I could tell myself back then is that, Devon, don't stress about trying to plan out every next step. Your journey is going to tell you where the next step is going to take you.
I would have to echo those sentiments for sure. That would be my one bit of advice for myself. If I can go back is trust the journey, remain optimistic and stay true to your compass. And in that process, you will end up where you're supposed to be when you stay true to yourself. Stay true to what motivates you, stay true to what ignites passion for you. And have faith in the process because going back to my early years, I could have never predicted where I'd be. But it's my journey that landed me here, which is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So
Thank you.
I can go next, Caitlin. Do you want this question still? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just say don't take rejection as failure. And so again, it's been 15 years for me almost, but I know now it's LinkedIn, it's a million applications, it's constant, it's not, you're not bringing a paper application in and getting to meet someone firsthand. They're reviewing your application and making a decision on you. So as you start applying, you're going to get way more rejections than you're going to get a yes to, right? Hopefully you're not taking those to heart and seriously, right? They are using AI. There are tools to vet. And you're learning at school, hopefully, how to prepare your application to get through those systems and like get that first interview. But even with that being said, you're going to get rejections, right? So my pro tip is this. I remember early on feeling really like down. I'd get like no, 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 no. I get really excited about a role and then not hear anything and then not get it, right? Stay confident. No, just keep at it, keep trying, clean up your resume, pivot when you have to, don't give up on yourself. That is not those rejections are not a reflection of who you are. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know how hard you've worked to be here. They don't know everything about you. So again, pro tip, write some meaningful, maybe like words out, like everything that you love about yourself. Put it on your computer, right? Little sticky notes. Like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm strong. Like, I used to always do that during my interview processes to stay confident. And it really helped me realize that that was who I was and that the rejections weren't going to shape my own inner thoughts about myself. So, pro tip. Yeah. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you. Braxton?
Can you hear the question again? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so in one piece of advice, what do you wish you knew before graduating?
Um, Even if people try to have your age or lack of experience speak for you, still try to push past that. There's been a lot of spaces when you work in healthcare, mental health, whatever have you, just under that big umbrella. There are going to be people who are a lot more seasoned in the field, and oftentimes they can micromanage you. They can try to speak down to you sometimes. It's not a universal thing. It's not like everybody will do it, but it's just that sometimes, when you first enter a field, you in a sense kind of feel like, oh, okay, like I kind of have to get my footing first and then I'll feel like I'm a part of the team. And as somebody who doesn't kind of just sit and allow the workplace to kind of work me in a sense, you got that job because you deserve the job. Like, you didn't get the job by luck. Even if you did, you got the luck because you deserve the luck. You are there because you're supposed to be there. So be prepared. Try to be resilient. There's going to be very tough days, and it's like, in the start of everything, you might be like, Jesus, I said I wanted to do this, my God. But it's like, this is everything that you do is a stepping stone to where you'll end up. And as long as you make sure that you're prepared, that you have a positive mindset, and that you have some type of way to decompress whenever you get back from an interview, when you get back from work, when you're having a bad day, when you're still at work, all these different things, as long as you make sure that you're taking care of your mental health and that you are presenting yourself the best way possible, you will do amazing. You don't have to feel like you need to compare yourself to anybody, because there's no perfect clinician, there's no perfect doctor, there's no perfect dentist. A lot of people, had a whole bunch of different ways to get to where they are now. They just don't really talk about it because now it's in the past. But as long as you feel like you deserve where you're at, which you should always feel like, because they read you off a piece of a paper essentially. That's like, when you're ordering a pizza, you read everything off the menu and then you just, you're like, that's exactly what I want. And if it comes in and it's, it might be a disappointment, it might not, but they're still gonna eat the pizza. You got the job. So you feel like you deserve that and feel like you should be there. And I promise you will feel like you should be there, because oftentimes we take away our own opportunities and act and move ourselves or speak out of alignment. And you got the job and you have the skill set you have. So just lead with that and you'll do amazing.
Great, thank you. I think we do have time for a question or two. Chelsea, did we have any
Yeah,
questions pop up?
yeah. Reed asked a wonderful question about public speaking in the chat, but I think Braxton and Ariana both answered very well in the chat. I mean, unless someone else had something to add about public speaking, but if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to either put it in the chat or you're welcome to use the mic as well.
I
Or you
think that
can.
I can jump in on the public speaking. So when it comes to public speaking, I did struggle initially, feeling overwhelmed, and I overcame that fear and the fear of feeling not confident, feeling overwhelmed, and nervous, as most people often do. It's very normal. Um, I began to watch more public speaking and attend more public speaking events. And what I noticed was, as a audience member, I was at ease when the speaker was at ease. And then I was nervous when the speaker was nervous. So I was like, I want my audience members, I want the people I'm speaking to be at ease, so that I have to be at ease. So then I started stepping into that energy and stepping into that space and leading with that, and really accepting that, maybe I might not be perfect. It's okay if I'm not perfect, but I really, really want the people I'm speaking to and my audience members to feel at ease and relaxed. So I have to lead with that energy. And when I started to lead with that energy, that's when it shifted for me and I became a much stronger public speaker.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, sorry. We have Madeline asked, how do you go about getting entry-level jobs and internships with no previous experience?
I can fix this
Um,
one. We'll see. Oh,
no, you can go ahead. I'll go after you.
I was gonna say, so both my internships at URI, I got through like the URI program. I don't know what that's called, Chelsea, anymore. But there was a program historically where there was like available internships, and you got like a list, and you could apply and kind of see what was available. So my first internships, I think, were off that list. So I know other folks, or historically there was like some like I guess digital opportunities to also like explore organizations and see what was available for internships. So you could do that too. But mine were like blind applications essentially. And then I would have like a referral or potential like referral slash like recommendation from a professor. So I would use that as like my starting point. And when it comes to jobs, I would say it's somewhat of the same thing. Like you're going to be blind applications, right? If you do know someone who works there and they can refer you in, that's great. If you don't know, I don't think it's like you don't think it's required to have a referral in to actually get a job. So that's like at least how I went about it, was again utilizing the resources at URI. And Braxton, I know you had more to share too.
No, that was honestly like pretty similar to what I was gonna say. Uh, like additionally though, LinkedIn was very, very, very like vital for me. I'm a very, I said very a lot. I'm a social person, and I just don't mind being like having attention brought to me or speaking or whatever have you. So I was pitching. I was out here pitching, and I remember there was a list that Kirsten had. Was it Kirsten? I don't know. Yes, I think it was. Person, I don't know, but I think like she was like in our department at a time, and then later I had her as a teacher. I don't remember. But anyway, there was a list of internships that were sent out, and I remember that I was looking at them. Oh yeah, it was in that class. Let me say the name because we have it here. It was in the J-Term ITR 300 class. Okay. And there was a whole bunch of different like internships that we were meeting with the heads essentially, or whoever would be involved with choosing us. And I got to see like what type of experiences I'd be able to get from internships and things like that. And so I was just like, okay, I really want to do this, but I can't do this in person because I don't like I was scared of rejection, so I didn't want to do it in person. And so I was just, pitching, 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 and I was like, if they reject me, I'm just not going to answer it. No, it's okay. But then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Let me start answering. Let me start thanking them for their time. Let me start being a little bit more intentional. And I actually ended up getting a internship at CVS Pharmacy as the pharmacy technician, which later I came to find out you really can't work that job unless you have like certification. So I don't know how I got that, but it's just like networking is really so big. And it's like, even if you feel like you're a very introverted person, because originally I was introverted, I do TikTok and stuff now. So I'm a little bit more extroverted and I'm better at speaking. But before I was so nervous. I was so scared and I didn't know anybody because I moved a lot growing up. So I had no roots aside from my family, but they were like well in the system, nothing close to what I wanted to do. And so I would just recommend utilize things that allow you to outreach to other people. It doesn't have to be always so formal. You can go to, fairs. You can look things up on TikTok sometimes. You can go on LinkedIn and sometimes they're having panels like this. Sometimes people are posting about internships on there because, essentially LinkedIn is like a professional Facebook, like we're being real. So if you want to find an entry level job, an internship, follow recruiters and look through their postings and see what they are recycling. Follow people that are hiring for the types of positions that you want and get your achievements out there. Post that you're on honor roll, post that you're learning a language. If you have LinkedIn, I forgot what that thing is. It LinkedIn Gold or I don't know what it is, but it's LinkedIn Premium. If you got a little free trial, you better go in there. You tailor your whole page. Your page should always be changed in the same way that you update your Instagram bio, whatever have you. That's how you should be doing with LinkedIn because that's essentially your virtual business card. Use that as a channel. Use anything like that as a channel because that's like a representation of yourself. Your resume is like if nobody could see your face and you put a paper on your face and you wanted to get that job, are they going to hire you? That's how you have to think about that resume. And you'll always be able to sell yourself. Even if you have no experience, play on your experience from your classes. That's what I did. I had intro into epidemiology. It was how drugs work, but I feel like they would think I was crazy if I worded it like that on my resume. So, but just take things from what you do know. Everything is transferable. Like they're translating all of your degree into a job experience. So you can do that yourself on your resume. If you have no experience, show the experience you have through your classes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you being here today. And for the sake of time and our panelist schedules, I am going to stop recording the session and we will wrap up. But again, I just wanted to say we appreciate all of you being here and giving our students awesome advice. So thank you. And thank you to
Chelsea,
Dr. Nash for moderating for us.
say one more quick question or comment. If
Yeah, yeah.
anyone follow me on LinkedIn, you're welcome to. I'm also happy to connect with and see Broxton like plus winning. Happy to chat one-on-one if you're curious about my role or have more questions. Just always happy to have one-on-one chats too. Just want to offer that, Chelsea.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.